Hi students. Sometimes we want to create very irregular geometry by reading in points from an external text file. The classic example of this is doing an airfoil. So let's do an example and see how reading in external data works. I'm going to start a part the way I always do. Now, instead of doing a sketch immediately, I'm going to say Insert, Curve, and then curve through XYZ points. On my desktop, I have a text file called clarky.txt, and in that is simply the XYZ coordinates of an airfoil. So the first column is X, second column is Y, third column is Z. So we'll dismiss this. Under the curve file option, I'm going to browse. Under curves, I'll change that to text file and I'll choose Clark Y. Points are immediately read in and I'll say OK. And there's my Clark Y airfoil. One thing I did have to do, airfoils tend to be a continuous loop, so if you read them in, it will try to take the last point, bring it around to the first point, and create tangency. That creates a really messy trailing edge, so I left my trailing edge open, but we'll fix that in a minute. So airfoils are always done to a unit length. Because my part template is inch-based, that means that this airfoil is only an inch from the leading edge to the trailing edge. Let's fix that. Let's make it larger. First thing I have to do is I have to put this curve into a sketch where I can work on it. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane. And then I'm going to do a convert entities, and I'm going to project this curve into my sketch. Say OK. You can see the black line appeared. I'm going to zoom in. Now I can add my line to close the geometry. Okay, so that looks good. Now what I want to do is scale it up. I want to make it much larger. I'm going to do Scale Entities, and I'm going to click on the objects that I want to scale. In this case, it's this airfoil spline and the closing line. I have to tell it where to scale about. So I'm going to choose the leading edge right on the origin. And this 5 in here is a scale factor. So I'm going to go from 1 inch chord to 5 inches of chord. And that's just the distance from the leading edge to trailing edge. I'll say OK. Exit my sketch. And now I can extrude it. So if I choose a distance of 12 inches, I'll say OK. And now I have a wing section that is 5 inches from leading edge to trailing edge and 12 inches in length from this end to this end. And that is how you do reading in of point coordinates. Thank you for watching. Bye.